Hello all, welcome back to Editorial Analysis and Answer Writing Practice at 9 p.m. Friends, if you are watching this video series for the first time, then please watch my intro video given in the playlist to know how to participate in this answer writing program. Today will be a discussion video for day number 22, 23, 24 and 25. So for day 22, the question given was UNSC risks becoming obsolete without immediate reforms. Discuss the statement in light of India's proposed reforms in the UN Security Council. So here obsolete, you should know what is the meaning. It means outdated or becoming irrelevant. In simple terms, I'm giving you an idea. So UN Security Council has a risk of becoming outdated. Why? Because it is not able to tackle the present challenges. So it is not able to prevent the Russia-Ukraine war. It is not able to prevent the Israel-Palestine conflict. So today's challenges, the 1946 UNSC is not able to tackle it. So there's a need for immediate reforms. This is going to be your introduction. Highlight the need for these reforms in your introduction part. And from there you can go for India. So in this backdrop, India has proposed a series of reforms at different part of the time. So that reforms you can list down. I have explained in the video of this day 22. Please watch that video if you haven't watched, because I'm not going to explain the content here. So you are going to give the intro. In the intro part, tell the need, why UNSC needs reforms, and then followed by what are the reforms India has suggested. Then finally you conclude with the importance of UNSC, right? It is very, very imperative for strengthening UNSC, because UNSC is a body which can ensure global peace. That is the utmost priority. So we have to strengthen UNSC by bringing some reforms. So conclude with the importance. Start with the need, then India's suggestion, then conclude with the importance of UNSC. Okay. So here, Om Sneha, your answer is yes, good of all the answers. So you have highlighted the need part in the introduction. Then finally, you have highlighted the risk of becoming obsolete. In the first point alone, one suggestion, I am able to understand what you are trying to convey. But look, when I read UN Security Council, the highest decision-making body represents only 8% of the total members against democratic principles. It conveys that there are only 8% members who are against democracy. I know you are trying to convey that the representation is very small. It is going against democracy. That was not conveyed exactly. So you have to frame the sentence accordingly. That is the only point. The risk part you have highlighted. You have given the India's proposed reforms. That also you have done it well. And finally you have concluded. So it's a good answer. Okay. Right. The next question is, as the world's largest democracy, India must implement regulations on electoral funding to maintain its democratic values. Discuss. Looks like a simple question, but there's a catch. In the introduction part, you have to address the actual demand of the question. Only then you can go for suggestions for regulations. Okay. Many students failed to link that in the introduction part. In the introduction part, so you have to connect democracy, democratic values, electoral process and electoral funding. All these has to be linked, because the question says like that. India must implement regulations on electoral funding. India must implement regulations in electoral funding for what? To maintain democratic values. Your answer should have this tone. If you are simply going to present that these are the regulations or transformations or efforts required to change the electoral funding, that alone will not suffice. You have to say, you have to link it, how this regulation or how this implementation of regulations can strengthen the democratic values. That is what is important. Introduction part, you can highlight that India is the world's largest democracy, and the trust over democratic values comes from our trust over the electoral process. And the integrity of electoral process is based on the transparency in the electoral funding. However, there are some issues in electoral funding today which has to be addressed through following regulations. So in the introduction part, we are linking everything. Then you can go for the regulations. What are the changes we have to bring. And when you highlight the changes also, link it with the democratic value. For example, we have to put a cap on the political party funding. Don't just write that. Link it with one of the democratic value. If you didn't, for example, if you do not keep a cap on the political party funding, then only big political parties will get the visibility. Small political parties they cannot have that equality in the competition. Okay, national parties, they have a lot of money. They might mask the visibility of small parties. This is not democracy. Equality is a core value of democracy. So, putting a cap on the political party's expenditure will ensure equality, equal representation or equality in the political process. So, every point you try to connect it with the democratic value. To enforce that value, we have to bring regulation in the electoral funding. That linkage is important in every point. Then finally, you can conclude that it is very, very imperative to keep up our democratic values. Ensuring transparency in electoral funding becomes very, very important. So like that, you can come up with your own conclusion. So here I have chosen the answer of Kamali. So Kamali, you have highlighted that you have linked it. India is the largest democracy, has many challenges in the integrity of electoral process. So regulating electoral funding is crucial to uphold democratic values. Excellent. Your introduction is great. But the problem with your answer is you have exceeded the word limit, right? The question is 10 marker, but you have exceeded significantly the word limit. You are too explanatory. For 10 marker question, don't be too explanatory. Okay. And also look, in the broader subheading, you have mentioned regulations to improve transparency in electoral funding in India. So in the broader subheading, you are narrowing down the discussion. Regulations to improve transparency. So you are narrowing down the discussion only with transparency. Don't do that. Simply say regulations to improve electoral funding in India. Because what you have done is, at the broader subheading, you are mentioning transparency. In the interior subheading, point number 5, also you are mentioning about transparency in political party funding. Okay, so this point you can avoid. Simply write regulations to improve electoral funding. Then all your points are fine. Competence in legal reforms is required. Independent electoral oversight, strengthen the election commission, providing public funding to parties, limits on expenditure, transparency in political party funding, establishing national election fund. All your points are valid points, but too explanatory. Reduce it. Okay. Conclusion is fine, but the problem with conclusion is, see, a sentence should not have more than 10 or 13, 14 words maximum. But look at this, by embracing transparency in electoral funding in India, the nation can fortify the foundation of its democratic institution and empower citizens with knowledge and confidence that electoral choices are influenced by ideas. It goes on. How will I comprehend? How will the evaluator comprehend? See, a sentence should not be more than 2 lines, maximum 2.5 lines, not more than that. In a line, not more than 5 words, maximum 6 words occasionally. Okay, keep this in mind. Answer is fine, but not within the word limit. Okay. Then easy question, explain the role of millets for ensuring health and nutritional security in India. Very simple, straightforward. First explain what is millets. Okay, small seeded annual, whatever, etc. Just explain about annual grasses, right? Explain about millets. Maybe if you want, you can mention about India and millets. We are the largest producer of millets. 20% of the land area is devoted for cultivable land area is devoted for 20% of global millet production is coming from India. Like that, you can highlight some points with respect to millets. Then put subheading, how millets ensures health security, how millets ensures nutrition security, then conclude. Okay, so here, Kamali, so both the answers by Kamali. Very good, Kamali, but again, even here the same problem. You are too explanatory. Okay, you are too explanatory. And millets introduction is fine. Role of millets for ensuring health security. You are mentioning about health security, and the first point is regarding nutrients. Similarly, in the second page, in role of millets in nutritional security, your first point is immunity. The first point of nutritional security, immunity can go above, and the nutritional point can come below. Right? You haven't planned your answer properly. There is a mismatch in the subheading, but apart from that, I have read your answer. You are good in content, but the problem is too explanatory. For 10 marker, we cannot write this much. So for health security, you have given points. Okay, for nutritional security also you have given points, and finally you are connecting it with sustainable development goal and goal number 3. So giving conclusion, connecting with SDG is always good, but again the problem is, see, one sentence you are taking it, to finish the sentence you are taking 6-7 lines. That is not healthy. Okay, please keep this in mind. Don't be more explanatory, right? The last question for today's discussion is examine how subsidies can serve as a mechanism for promoting sustainable development in India. Most of the students who submitted the answers, they were not able to understand the exact demand of the question. They are simply writing about subsidies and the importance of subsidies. Understand the demand. Here says how subsidies can serve as a mechanism for promoting sustainable development. You have to link subsidies and sustainable development. In the introduction part, either define subsidies and link it with sustainable development, or you start with sustainable development and link it with subsidies. Once after linking it, then put a subheading that how subsidies can help in achieving sustainable development. We understand sustainable development. To achieve sustainable development, there are three core elements which has to be interconnected. For ensuring sustainable development, there are three core elements which has to be interconnected. What are the three core elements? Economic growth. Growth alone is not sufficient. Social inclusion. The growth should be inclusive. Growth and inclusive growth alone is not sufficient. Environment protection. In the process, we should not damage environment. So economic growth, social inclusion, environment protection, this should be interconnected. Okay, this put together will result in sustainable development. Now you are going to explain how subsidies can help in growth, how subsidies can help in inclusion, how subsidies can help in environment protection. That should be your points. For example, see, if you want to focus on environment protection, today our fossil fuels is resulting production process of fossil fuel or usage of fossil fuel, combustion of fossil fuel, that results in lot of carbon emission, which is not good for the environment. So we have to go for renewable source of energy. Now, how subsidies helps in this energy transition? That you have to highlight. You keep, say for example, you take PM Kusum scheme. The PM Kusum scheme helps in converting standalone diesel pump set to solar powered pump set. Okay. Now, for which government gives almost 60% subsidy. Now, this subsidy helps in converting diesel based pump set to solar based pump set. This helps in this energy transition. So you can highlight 4 or 5 schemes. It's not schemes, I'm saying 4 or 5 examples. Tell how subsidies in these 4 or 5 examples helps in achieving sustainable development. There are a lot of government initiatives which provide subsidies for MSMEs, for first generation entrepreneurs, which helps in economic growth. Think about subsidies given by the government with respect to health, Ayushman Bharat, with respect to education. How that is going to help in inclusive growth. Like that you have to address. Then finally you conclude. But most of them have not tackled this question properly except one person. Ranjit, you have done justice. Right? Your introduction is fine, but the second point of introduction, subsidies form an important of Indian exchequer, 4 lakh crores, that point I'm not able to clearly understand. But apart from the subsidy as a mechanism for sustainable development, and before that you have explained sustainable development and linking subsidies with sustainable development will result. So you have linked those two parts. Then how subsidies can help in sustainable development. So in agriculture, so you have highlighted the PMKSY, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, how that will help in efficient usage of water, which helps in that, sustainable development. Renewable energy subsidies, transportation subsidies, millets in PDS, green buildings. So you have understood the demand of the question. Your answer is good, right? And conclusion is also fine. So students, if you have not addressed these questions based on the demand, now you would have got some clarity. Please rewrite the question. Please rewrite the question. I have also given a model answer. Now, based on this understanding, rewrite and practice. That is what is very important. Okay. Right, friends. I hope the discussion video was useful to you. I will see you in the next video with another set of editorial topics. Till then, bye. Take care.